Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next session of From Nothing, Luxunvur's story. Last time you had quite a bit of interesting encounters, ending with a meal at the Maryguard Tavern. We are going to fast forward just a little bit until the next morning, where you said that Luxunvur typically would wake up on time, yeah?
Correct.
Okay. I'll say that today is no different, although your muscles are sore from the training that you've experienced. Why don't you roll me a con save?
Okay.
Good start,
Yeah,
right?
13, yeah.
13's
It's
not
not the
bad.
worst.
13 will do. You do not have an exhaustion point.
Oh, thank God. That would have sucked.
It would have. Now, are you going to go to breakfast, or do you head straight to class?
If I have time for breakfast, I'll stop.
Yeah, you do. Now, you already have 10 temporary hit points from your meal last night. But I will roll to see if the golems do better, which I doubt, but we'll try. No, they offer. It is a delicious meal, but the current temporary hit points you have is better than what they could give you. So, at 10 bonus, you stand.
Okay.
And so, you head to the Ariakis Sanctuary, the monk classroom. As usual, Kiyokase is here as well, and Ariakis himself stands waiting, meditating, at ready.
This was local, yeah. It's Liberty Lake.
One moment, please.
Yep.
Liberty Lake.
Ariakis stands waiting in the classroom between you and the massive stone doors that seem to divide that part of the classroom from where you are. And as you enter, he is facing you, and he says, "Good morning. As our newest student, you have a new task before you." And Kiyokase is looking at you and at Ariakis, and he just kind of stands back. And Ariakis says, "You have been assigned your first free agency. Do you know what that is?"
I wish I could say I did.
Ariakis kind of tips his head, and he says, "The Maryguard Academy accepts tasks for which to train our students. You do not have the experience nor the training to accept a full contract by the Maryguard Academy, but the free agency you can do. It is a job you will perform for the Maryguard's reputation, for your own training, and for no pay. Do you have any questions?"
Are they local?
Usually.
No. I think that's it.
Good. Today, you will be heading into the Alland Forest. You will be taking a companion with you. One who is not also my student. He shakes his head at Kyo, who tilts his head and continues to wait respectfully. And he says, "You will report to Persh, the concierge. He will refer you to your companion for this task."
Alright. And that's all for the day?
I imagine this should take you most of the day, as the Alland Forest is great. Your duty. You will find out who or what has been taking the wares of townsfolk who live in the Alland Forest's outskirts.
I
You
can't
will
do that.
You will convince them to stop. Should you need to use martial ability, do so carefully.
Of course. Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Ariakis steps up to you, and he holds out his hand, and in it you see is a small glass bottle filled with a red solution.
Can I roll to see if I know what this is?
You know what a healing potion is.
Okay. Then I'll just reach out and take it.
Do
and
not use this unless you have to.
Understood.
Ariakis nods, and he just gestures toward the door. Good luck.
As I'm leaving, I'll look to Q and give him a nod. Head out.
He bows his head, as always respectful in Ariakis' presence. But you leave the room, and as you do, one moment. I assume you head to Persh?
Yep. I would go to Persh.
Okay. As you head over to Persh, he sits at his desk as always, and he looks up as you're approaching, and he says, "Morning, Levi."
Morning. I'm here for a work study. Or, yeah, we'll just call it that.
He kind of looks up at you with a sidelong look, and he says, "Free agency."
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous.
No worries. And he pulls out a ledger, and he says, right, let's see who we have available. Roll me a d10.
Right. Oh, that's a D8. We don't want to do that.
A 9.
9.
He picks up the box with the blue sending stone on it that he pulls to his face, and he says, "Aye, Makito. Aye. Free agency with a monk student. Appreciate it." And he puts the box away, and he says, "Your companion will be out just in a moment."
Right. Who's my companion?
From what I understand, well, we'll see who Makito sent. But it's a barbarian student.
I see.
He gestures toward one of the benches and returns to his work.
Right. I'll go sit and he'll wait.
You're left waiting for a few minutes. Finally, there is heavy footsteps coming from around the hall, and a towering half-orc woman appears. Slung over her shoulder with her left hand just relaxedly leaning over the haft is a great axe. She must be 7 feet tall. That's what she looks like as she rounds the corner and she looks at you and she says, "You're the fresh meat."
You're quite bigger than I expected.
"You're smaller than I expected."
Well, it's the first time I've heard that. It's fair.
Well, you know what
I'm
the
Levi.
plan is? Oh. Tame.
Tame. T-A-M-E?
Tayme.
Ah, Tame. Understood. As far as the plan, we have to go to the forest and find out who is stealing goods and get them to stop.
Do you mind if I get something to eat first? And she jabs a thumb toward the mess hall.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Do you follow her as she goes back there?
I'll look to Persh and give this kind of like help sort of look and just head off.
Persh like glances up at you and just shrugs, but he doesn't say anything.
That's great. It's gonna be a journey.
I mean, Persh isn't going to help you. As you go into the mess hall, you see Tame, who is again this tower of a half-orc wearing what looks like little more than it's not armor. It looks like a massive black coat with wolf fur around the neck of it, and you can see that just barely tied around it is what looks like a sling, which from her hip hangs a large parcel, likely where she keeps her supplies. But also around the back is a leather loop that you imagine is where the great axe is supposed to go, but it is over her shoulder, even as she is perusing the food that is available after hours in the mess hall.
So, as she's perusing, why do you carry your weapon like that?
She glances over her shoulder at you, and she says, I like it. I touch the things I like.
That's good to know. All right then. And I'll just go sit down and wait for her.
Okay. Takes a few moments. You can hear the sliding of the platters on the stone surface as she readies herself a plate of food. And after a few moments, she sits down across from you, a large bowl of the stew that is generally available. It's usually a mix of vegetables and like a protein, usually pork. And then she got like an entire loaf of bread. As she sits down, she does shove the great axe into the sling on her back, and as she's looking at you, she says, So what's your deal?
I don't think I understand the question. What my deal?
Your name's Levi.
Right.
You're a monk.
Right.
Is that it? That's all you are?
Yeah, I think.
You come from nowhere. You're here just to learn how to fight.
I'm sorry. You're quite different from some of the people I've already met.
She takes a huge bite of bread and she says, Yeah? As she's chewing.
Well, I come from the Northern Frosts. That's where I come from. A small village encapsulated by ice and mountains and snow, and I had to leave.
I know it.
And I have met somebody along the way who taught me the ways of the monk, and she sent me on my way here. Other than that, I don't know where I'm going or what I have planned. Just to learn is what I want for now.
Just a straight line from the Northern Frosts to here.
Well, I stopped in the outpost. I think it was
Quarterstone, if you don't remember.
Quarterstone. Yeah, I was trying to load the map to see.
No worries.
I stopped in Quarterstone and spent a while there. Is where I met my master. And she sent me here.
She's still your master?
She said she has taught me all she can. I still see her as such, but she would not admit it.
She kind of nods as she swaths a massive just pile of the stew onto a piece of bread.
What about you?
She kind of tilts her head, looks at you, and roll me an insight check real quick.
Oh. Yeah, 20.
Okay, with a dirty 20. You have the distinct sudden feeling of being appraised, of someone taking your measure, and based on the small crook of her lips turning down just a little bit, maybe not too impressed by what they see. And she says, Does it matter?
But you don't like me? You don't think I add up? Or what's the problem?
She takes a big gulp of the stew and just kind of thumps her hand down on the table. And she says, Well, we're working together, so you must be worth something. I don't see it yet.
Don't worry, I'll show you. And then maybe after you can return in kind with a little bit about yourself.
She raises an eyebrow and she says, I'll tell you. I was born in Tarracona, west of the Drake Shores. And she kind of tilts her head, looking away from you. And she says, wasn't the best life, but, got by with the edge of my axe. She kind of rolls her head back and forth and says, right, before any further, you gotta know, I was born a bandit.
What does that mean?
She raises an eyebrow and she says, a highwayman? A thief?
No, I understood, but what does it have to do with you now?
Some people think those habits don't go away.
I'll tell you, as someone who was born of their parents and turned out nothing like their parents, what you're born as doesn't determine who you will be.
Sometimes I think they had the right of it. That the strong deserve what they earn. By taking by force. Shows your worth.
You'd be half right.
She tilts her head and she says, that's not what I expected out of you. Maybe this will be fun. And she drains the rest of the stew and stands up. Thanks for waiting.
It's rough to do a job on an empty stomach.
She nods and she gestures. Let's move out then. You know where we're going.
Not a clue. I actually don't know. I'm still new here, and I don't know the forest. Or anything about the people who live on the outskirts of the forest.
Well, my instructor told me we to be looking into who might be living outside the walls. Because they're the ones struggling with whatever nuisance this is going to be, so.
We start there. Alright, I guess let's go. We'll lead the way.
Oh, this is your free agency, fresh meat. You're leading the way.
Well, can't blame me for trying.
I can, you coward.
Coward. I'll show you, coward. Alright, let's go. We'll head out.
Okay. You head out into Ferrum. So the Allen Forest, which you would know this just by being here, briefly. It's not anything that's hard to notice, as the Allen Forest surrounds Ferrum. One of the main trades of Ferrum is logging, and so as you are basically out on the main street, you know that to get to the Allen Forest, you basically just go out the gates.
I guess we'll just head down the main strip out to the gates.
Let's go. And again, she has the great axe over her shoulder. Roll me a perception check.
Sure.
A 13. Even with a 13, this tower of a woman behind you, great axe over her shoulder, is attracting attention. People are turning their heads and looking, and you see that she is wearing like a belt and leather skirt that is of the Merigard Academy, but it's clear that the coat she wears is not. So people don't at first glance know she's immediately a Merigard student. So they look to you and they look to her, and there is definitely your attention is being drawn.
Maybe you shouldn't carry your great axe like that.
Why?
You are drawing the attention of the people.
Let him look.
Yeah, but panic can stem from far less than what is going on here.
I'm not breaking any laws, am I?
Fair point.
Like I said, let him look. They'd
All
look
right.
anyway.
I guess that's fair. He just kind of shakes his head as he turns around and starts walking again.
Okay. You head toward the chapel gate leading out of Ferrum. Roll me a d8.
I didn't mean to click that. That's a 100. Ignore that.
Ignoring.
Thank you. That's an 8.
An 8. Okay.
Oh, well.
Now roll me a d100.
46.
Oh.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Oh god.
As you are heading out of the gate, you round the corner of the gate and you are bumped into by something. It is of humanoid shape. It's about 5'7", 5'8". It has glowing blue eyes and skin made of metal, and it is unusual. You've never seen anything like this before. It is wearing clothes. It looks like it's wearing a long cloak and traveling clothes underneath it. It is in all ways the shape of a human, except for the fact that its face and any flesh that you can see is not flesh. Instead, it is steel and iron. Blue lenses where the eyes ought to be, a clockwork gear and mechanism where the mouth ought to be. But as it bumps into you, it falls back. Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. And as it kind of staggers back.
I reach out to grab him so he doesn't topple.
Roll a dexterity save.
Okay. 16.
Oh, easy enough. You are deft and quick, and you manage to dart forward and catch the individual before they hit the ground. And he says, "Oh, thank
you.
you.
Okay?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't see you coming around the corner.
Oh, no, I didn't see you either. Sorry.
I have. You see, it's hard to judge the emotions, but based on the sounds that this individual is making, he sounds distressed, and he says, "I'm sorry. Could you point me to the Marigard Academy? I have business there."
Sure. May I ask what kind of business?
I need to hire a team.
Right. Sure. And I'll just give him the directions to get there.
He grabs a leather tube that you didn't notice immediately at first. He clutches it in both hands and he says, thank you, and he proceeds on past you. The half-orc woman Tame is also watching, and she watches as he leaves. And after he's around the corner, she turns and looks at you and says, "What the fuck was that about?"
Do you know what he was?
I'll roll a history check for her.
He's a man made of metal.
That's what I saw too. She doesn't know anything about this.
So that's not normal around here then.
I've never seen it before.
Alright, we'll unpack that later. We have a job to do.
Right. And you continue out.
Sure do.
All right. As you emerge out of Ferrum and you are in the outskirts, the walls of Ferrum are only about 15 feet high, so you can see most of the taller structures easily from behind them. Outside of it, it looks like most of the land that's outside of Ferrum is or was forest that has been logged. The All-in Forest isn't for a good maybe quarter mile up the road, and in between you can see there are many farms and patches of just tilled land that makes up the gap between Ferrum and the actual All-in Forest itself. The road that you're on, the main road that leads eastward toward the capital, Augur City, which you are aware of, it splits off in all sorts of tiny little roads and wagon trails and pathways that lead to all the various homesteads. Now, you could choose to go to one of those homesteads, or you could choose to just go straight to the forest to investigate. How are you going to handle this?
We'll start by going to a homestead and asking.
Okay. Roll me a
How
d4.
fruitful that is. D4.
3. The first homestead you see that looks like it's occupied, like it's worthwhile to go there, is about maybe 1,000 yards off of the main road after you've been walking for about 15 minutes. And as you're heading out, it looks like this particular farmstead raises livestock. At least that's what the smells tell you. You smell cattle, you smell pig, and you smell their refuse. And it is potent and unpleasant, as always. But these are the signs of a healthy farm. And as you go up along the pathway, you see that the homestead is teeming with people that are going about their business, tending to their livestock or tending to the equipment they have around their farm. And as you're approaching, you two strangers walking up the road toward this homestead, an older human man with white hair, completely bald on the top, looks up to you and he says, "Welcome to Parkson's. How can I help you two?"
Yes, hello. We're here to ask you a few questions. See if
Not-
you know anything.
You're not looking for a horse?
No, not today. We're actually
Alright.
trying to stop the thefts that are happening. out
Oh, you're some of those Marigard folk then.
here. That'd be correct.
Perfect, perfect. He gestures for you to approach as he throws down the pitchfork that he was using. He kind of wipes his brow with a handkerchief before tucking it away. You see this man's wearing like these great big suspenders over a plaid shirt and then just very worn, very patchwork trousers. It's clearly the work outfit of this sort of man. And as he looks at the two of you, he says, "It's a pleasure. I'm Johann Parkson.
It's a pleasure, Johann.
Now, who have you already spoken to?"
You are my first.
Oh, right. The Sander farm across the way also was missing some, what was it? You see he's thinking for a long moment. Some sort of, not fertilizer, but the sort of prepared soil, as it were. They're up by the quarry, so that might have something to do with it. Anyway, thank you for coming out so quickly. We just had a conversation with the nice young dwarf just yesterday evening, so this happened quickly.
Well, we'd like to make sure our citizens are taken care of.
Perfect. Well, for the last week or so... Oh, what just happened?
Left and then came back.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Sorry. Anyway.
It's all good.
Last week or so, we've been noticing feed and hay going missing every night. It's always a sizable amount. At least half our store. It's becoming expensive. And while we talked to the guards about it, they weren't able to help much. They just basically, they left a stakeout who didn't see anything. You might want to go talk with them. And he points to, you see that toward the other side of the farm, much closer to the forest itself, you see that there are two guards. One with a longbow, that he looks like he's ready to, he looks vigilant. He looks like he's paying attention. And the other guard who is next to him, you can see his mouth is moving. His longsword is on his hip. His hands are behind his back. It looks like he's not vigilant.
Are those the guys that did the watch?
Aye, they're the ones who, I think they're probably fitting to pack it up. But they were here last night.
Right. I'll turn to Time and I'll go, or Tame, sorry. Can you stay here for a minute?
She raises an eyebrow and says, "Why?"
No offense, but you are quite big, and what I'm about to do requires a little bit of subtlety.
Roll a persuasion check.
Ooh, it's not the best. Ooh, that one.
She shakes her head and she says, "We have to work together on this."
Alright, well, try to be quiet and follow me, and I'll try to sneak up on the guards.
You try to sneak up on them?
Yeah, like just come over quietly, not like to ambush, but like, kind of just be there before they. You know how you're talking and you look over at somebody and you're like, shit, when did you get there?
I see. Roll stealth.
23.
Okay. Do you say anything to Tame?
This is basically what I was telling her. I was like, what we're doing requires subtlety, so be quiet and follow me. Since she refused to stay here.
Noted. All right. Let me roll her. Let me roll her stealth. She's not bad at it. She's a barbarian. Let's see. That's an 18.
Okay, all right, that's not bad.
So when you kind of crouch down and quietly walk, you hear just the of the great axe being slid away. And she surprisingly manages to make herself seem a lot smaller than you would have expected. She follows close behind you. Yeah. For a moment, the thought crosses your mind of a barbarian sneaking up on perhaps a traveling troupe, only to leap out and surprise them. Which,
makes sense.
It is what it is. As you creep along, you make your way up next to the guards. I'm going to roll perception for the one who is vigilant. The one who's not paying attention I'm going to use his passive, which is not great. Okay. As you're approaching, you hear the one guard who is saying,
Is there... Look, all I'm saying is, Hallstrom doesn't have to be quite so rude about it to all the new folk. I mean, we're having people quit left and right.
And the other guard just says, as he's looking around. And the first guard,
Look, the ration of 2 sandwiches a day, that's nice enough. But once pay, you could get better pay working at the general supply. I mean, how are we supposed to find ends meet if we can't even...
And then the second guard says, wait. And he turns, and it seems like he heard something. And the second guard says,
What? Wait for what? What are you looking for?
and the other guard's like, shut up, as he's looking around. The Skyrim eye is basically like slightly correct.
It's amazing. Okay.
They don't know where you are. They heard something basically. He rolled pretty well. So, but he hasn't noticed you. So what are you trying to do?
That's good enough. I'll just stand up and show myself. Like, I'll make myself known.
The vigilant guard looks over at you and says, "You there?"
I'm glad I can count on one of you at least.
What's that supposed to be? We're paying attention.
And the other guard, the vigilant one, kind of elbows him. Oof! And he says, What are you prowling around here for?
We're from the Merryguard.
I see that. That's why I haven't raised an alarm.
We're here tasked on the job to find out and stop whoever is stealing. I heard you guys took watch.
Yeah, we did.
And it was not...
You see the loud guard is about to say something, and the quiet one just nudges him again. He's,
Oh!
I was just making sure, since he didn't look very capable, that you guys actually paid attention in the watch.
I did my
apologies.
best.
Anyway, you guys saw nothing out of the ordinary, or quiet night?
The vigilant guard pulls out a small book, and he hands it to you, and he says, "You can look through my notes of last night."
Okay, I'll flip it open and read through.
Okay, roll me investigation.
I have proficiency in this. Okay, 15.
With a 15, for the most part, it seems like not much happened last night. There was some commotion by the house, but it seemed like some of the children had just gotten in trouble or had broken something. You're not sure, and based on this note, it basically just says shouting in-house family issues. The next note that was of interest is it's well over 4 hours later, and that was that the homesteader, Mr. Parkson, had asked the guards if they had left the gate open on the north side of the farm, and the guards, they hadn't been over that side at all, so no. Other than that, it was quiet.
Alright, well, the note will be very helpful, thank you.
The guard shrugs and says, "Sorry, doing our best."
No, I appreciate your best. Then I'll look to the other one and say, maybe work on yours some.
What's that supposed to mean? I've been doing this for years. Look, if there was something on here that needed to be seen, I'd have seen it.
Right. Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen. You have a good day.
Yeah, good day.
And as we turn around and leave, I'll look to Tam. You know, I didn't expect that from you.
She looks down at you and she says, "Yeah, you made a snap judgment."
That's fair. You're just extremely big.
Mm-hmm.
Won't happen again.
Good.
It seems to be that these people are coming in from the north side of the farm, up in the north end of the village, or forest.
Let's go take a look.
Think so. And we'll head up.
She follows you, and you head toward the north side of the farm?
Yep.
Okay. You can see that the edge of the forest it's not super far here. It's only maybe 300 feet. And the land between the edge of this farm, where the fence is, and the gate that was probably mentioned in the book, and the edge of the forest is only 200 at the closest point. And you see that the actual land itself is pretty it's pretty tall grass. It reaches up to about your hip.
Can I look for signs of footprints, bent, broken grass, just anything unnatural?
You can roll me survival or perception. Your choice.
Perception it is.
Perception.
Fall from the 20 to 8.
That's how it goes. As you are looking around, the gate, there is notable misuse on the metal clasp of the gate. It looks as though someone has bent the latch of the gate so that even though it is closed, it does not look like it stays closed very well. The gate itself is pretty thickly built. It's not like the sort of thing, it's not what you'd expect from a typical pig gate or cattle gate. It is actually like a solid wooden gate. But the way the clasp has been, clearly, it looks like it's been damaged, actually. The metal's bent slightly, and it looks like it's just made of bronze. The metal's bent in a way that it would not be hard for someone to manipulate it from either side. That's what you see with the 15. Tame, who rolled a natural 19 again. I mean, she points down at just underneath the gate where the tall grass ends and the actual pasture of the farm begins. Right underneath the gate, you see that there is a single footprint that looks like it was pressed in remarkably heavy, as if by someone lifting something or landing there. And that footprint, it doesn't look like a typical humanoid footprint.
Much bigger or?
Much smaller, and it looks like it has claw marks instead of toes. It doesn't take you even a moment to guess that's a kobold footprint.
I was about to say, is there any way my character would know that? Because I know.
Yeah, your character knows immediately that's a kobold.
Okay, well. Do you know what this is? And as I looked at Tame.
Some sort of reptile?
I think it's a kobold.
Of course it is. All right. You can expect that from troublemakers like them.
Now listen, you can't... All of them aren't troublemakers.
Tame looks at you with a raised eyebrow, and she says, "Oh, my mistake."
You have to think about it like yourself. You were born a bandit, but you're not a bandit.
Sometimes I question.
Sometimes you should. But I said we go find them. And I'll try to track the prince into the forest.
Okay, roll survival.
Hey! I'm not even gonna say it because I'll just jinx myself. 24.
That's pretty fucking good. With a 24, you actually see how the prints are pressed into the ground, and you follow them by parting the grass, gently looking down at the ground, and you can see where the tracks lead. And you notice it is more than one kobold. There are many tracks here, and it looks like the kobolds maybe have gotten complacent, or they were trusting the grass to hide them, because there are small little strands of hay or little bits of feed that might have fallen out of the parcels in the high grass that you are walking through.
Okay, well, we'll follow it.
Okay. It isn't hard. They really did not do a good job of hiding their tracks, at least in this high grass. And as you make your way through, we are going to change the mood image because you have entered the Allen Forest.
Okay.
Now, would you say you've spent much time in forests?
Definitely some time in some forest.
Okay.
Especially if there was forest around Quarterstone.
Oh, there was plenty of forest around
But
Quarterstone.
then I would have spent most of my time out in the forest.
Okay, so you are comfortable here. Roll me an insight check as you glance back at Tame.
14.
You see that Tame, who kind of has the great axe in front of her, but her hand up right underneath the head. She's using it basically as a large makeshift machete, but she is moving with an ease about her, and it seems like she is also comfortable in forest. And as you are making your way through the woods, following these tracks, you're going through the forest for a good ways. Following the tracks, you keep up the path for well over an hour, at which point I'm going to require another survival check.
Hey. 23.
A 23. Yeah. with a 23, the kobold's tracks, they suddenly split apart. But you keep track of the set of kobold tracks that clearly every couple feet or so, another small few pieces of feed dripped out of their bag, as those tracks are laced with the small, light brown, round seeds that betray their trail. As you're leading Tame into the forest here, you come across what looks like a small cavern. The cavern is nestled underneath two enormous trees that intertwine together at the roots, and the roots are lifted high up off of the ground. The cavern itself looks pretty dark. Do you have dark vision?
I do.
Okay, so you can see within perfectly fine, as can Tame. And as the two of you are looking into this cavern, she says, "You fancy fighting some kobolds? Are we trying to talk to him?"
Always talk first, but if that falls apart, then we don't have a choice.
She nods. And as you kind of look into the cavern, I'd like to know how you proceed.
Do you want this? Should I put it in the fridge?
I want to listen first to see if I hear anything.
Roll perception.
25.
With a 25, you do hear the edge of whispers. You're standing outside the cavern, listening in, and every once in a while you hear like slightly heightened whispers that it's just quiet enough. You can't quite make out what the words are, even though you speak Draconic. You cannot quite understand what they're saying. But after you're listening for about 10 minutes, you hear pretty loud coughing coming from within the cavern. And then the whispers continue.
I'll look to Tame. Do you think we sneak in, or do you think we tell them we're here?
She looks down at you and then into the cavern, and she says, "I mean, that depends. Are we just trying to get back the feed, or are we trying to handle this nice-like?"
Nice leg, so I guess you're right. We should probably tell them we're here. And I'll yell into the cave, and Draconic, is anyone here to talk?
Roll me a perception again.
27, natural 20.
With a 27, you see that just inside of the cave, literally right in the darkness, just inside the lip, you see that on the right and the left-hand side of the caves there's a kobold on each side, and they have tucked themselves up against the wall. And as you say that, the one on your right just like it seems like it's worried that you had seen it, which you have. Do you do anything with that information?
Yeah, just end Draconic. It's alright. I just want to talk. I have food if you're hungry.
The kobold on the right, realizing that they've been seen, steps away from the wall. It has the sort of stance of a creature that looks like it's ready to flee at a moment's interest. And you see that in its right hand is a small, what to you would be a javelin, but to them is a spear. And as it looks at you, it says, in Draconic, What do you want?"
And I'll pull out a ration and kind of hold it in my hand. I'm just here to talk about the stuff you guys have been taking.
You see that kobold looks distressed and looks back into the cave. I need you to roll a persuasion check.
Oh boy. 20.
20. Okay. The kobold looks at you. "I'll be right back." and it runs into the cave. The other kobold on either side
I
of
was
the
about
cavern,
to say, I looked to him like,
as soon as you look at him, he just and like steps away from the wall. His own spear in both hands. He looks afraid that you're going to do something aggressive, but he also see like that determined fire that you have seen in many kobolds' eyes. That he's willing to die for his tribe, and you don't matter. So he's standing there looking at you defiantly.
I just throw a ration at him.
As it slides on the cave floor, he looks down at it, sets the spear haft on the ground, leans down and picks up the ration, and looking at you, is this some kind of trick?
With a trick, I would have just came in and beat you all senseless. I'm not here for that.
It's like he's immediately eating the ration very aggressively. With one hand, too. It's kind of remarkable as berries and nuts are spilling out onto the ground. It seems as though he's getting most of the dried pork that is the majority of the ration. But that being said, the first kobold that ran back into the cave returns, and following that kobold you see is a very old kobold, one with the folded up wings that sings of draconic heritage. You know this is likely a sorceress kobold. Likely also to be, if not the leader, an important kobold amongst this group of them. And this kobold steps towards you. You wish to talk?
Well, yes. I hear you guys have been taking a lot of things that aren't yours.
We have needs. We have the weak. We must feed them. The forest does not provide as well as it once did. We do what we must.
Well, have you ever thought about finding an alternative method of getting these supplies?
We consider leaving. We cannot.
And almost as punctuation as she says that, you hear raucous coughing coming from down the cave.
What is that?
She narrows her eyes at you, and she says,
None of your concern.
You sure?
I am sure.
How many of you are there here in your colony?
roll persuasion.
Yes. No, it bounced from an 18 to a 2. 5.
She shakes her head and she says,
I will not be giving you information you could use to advantage.
Where's Tame at?
right behind you, and she looks confused. She does not speak Draconic. She has been standing here, like looking at these kobolds. She doesn't have the Great Axe in hand, but like her one hand is up by her shoulder, where she could easily get it very quickly. And she is looking at the kobolds, and then she notices you looking, and she says, "What are they saying?"
Sorry. You probably don't speak Draconic. I asked how many of them there are, and she would not tell me. So, just give me another moment. And I'll turn back and look to the sorceress. I'm only here to help you. If worse comes to worse, someone might be sent to...
You are here to stop the thieving of your food. We are not idiots.
Listen. I share your blood. And I don't want harm to befall you, alright? So, let me try to help you before it's too late.
How would you help us?
I'll find an ulterior method to get your food. But for that, I need to know how many of you there are.
Roll persuasion or deception.
Can I... Am I able to partially change one of my body parts?
Not at this level. You're very young.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so I guess we'll roll persuasion. I am being honest.
Okay.
It's a +2 though, that's not good. 10.
Taking into account what you said, she looks at you and she looks at Tame. And she says,
If you truly wish to help, prove it.
And how would you ask it then?
she looks at you and she looks at Tame and she says,
You two are fighters, yes?
Yes?
Our eastern cavern has been waylaid by an owlbear. They have decided it is their home, but it is not their home. It is our fungal growing ground. It is no longer safe for us to harvest our funguses. If you slay the owlbear, you will prove yourself a friend.
Simple enough. Can you point me in the direction of your cave?
I will do you one better.
and she retreats back into the cavern a brief ways, goes around a tight corner, and then grabs another kobold. This one, a younger male, and she shoves him forward, and she says,
Riz will show you the way.
and Grizz, this kobold named Grizz looks up to you and says,
Yeah, I heard everything. I show you the way. No problem.
Right. One moment, and I'll turn around to Tame.
There's another one.
Yeah, he will be coming with us.
the Grizz says,
I speak common. Good, yes?
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, are you interested in a fight, maybe?
Tame smiles, a very toothy smile, and she says,
Yeah, always. I thought this was going to be boring.
Well, you can take your frustrations out on an owlbear, if that tickles your fancy.
you see, she actually, one of her tusks digs into her lower lip, and she says,
Yeah, that sounds good.
I thought you'd enjoy that. Alright, Grizz, lead the way.
Grizz the kobold does. He marches out of the cavern. You see he's immediately, like, protecting his eyes from the light. Even though the canopy is guarding against both of the suns, it is still fairly harsh light out for a kobold. That being said, he begins to make his way westward, taking a sharp left out of the cavern, and you have to keep up with him.
Okay. Oh, you follow Grizz.
Okay. You follow Grizz. Roll me a perception check as you do.
22.
22. Grizz is pretty quick. He's pretty tricky to keep up with, but he is basically going in a straight direction. And as Tame is falling behind you, you hear her say,
I haven't fought an owlbear. This should be interesting. I've fought many beasts, but you hear stories about owlbears.
Have I heard stories about an owlbear?
roll a history check.
10.
You've heard you've heard like the vague stories that owl bears are extremely territorial and they're very dangerous and they can just ruthlessly attack for no apparent reason. That's what you've heard with a 10.
Okay. As we're going, then I'll just look back to Tame. It'll be all right. Just keep your senses about you, and we should have nothing to worry about.
I ain't worried about that. I'm worried if it's just the one or more.
That's a good question. I'll yell up to Grizz. Hey, Grizz!
Yeah!
It's just one bear, right?
One owlbear, yeah!
And you're sure?
You see that there's a moment's hesitation as Grizz stops and he says,
Should I not be?
Should be. I'm just checking.
Then, yeah, pretty sure it's just the one.
All
If
right.
it's not, this is gonna be bad, and we better run.
Right. All right. Yeah, just hoping, and I'll kind of give a half smile to Tame.
Tame is now, as she's following, she's got the great axe in hand, and it's not a double-bitted great axe, but it is a massive one. And as you are watching, as the group is making their way, she is twisting the great axe in her hands, and the massive blade of it and the beard looks notched and not rusty, but it's seen a lot of use. And you can see that she's kind of thumbing at the end of the leather wrap, where there are notches hidden. As she is next to you, she says,
I'm looking forward to this. Could use the workout.
Good.
Finally, as Grizz rounds the corner, and you've been walking for what feels like an hour, he points out another cavern. This one less hidden in the forest. This one it's very much more of a rock outcropping with a deep, dark cave underneath it. And Grizz says, We're here. We're here.
All right.
And
I'd
you
like to
see
try...
he pulls he pulls a short bow off of his back, and he says,
I help.
Maybe get very far back. You're very small.
He looks up at you and he frowns and he says,
Yeah.
I don't need you dying, alright? Just be safe.
I'm worried about you two.
We'll be fine. And I looked at Tame. I want to try to draw it out. I don't think we should go in.
Tame rolls her shoulders and says,
What'd you have in mind?
I look around for decent sized rocks or anything heavy that'll make a sound if...
Oh, there's lots of boulders and debris and fallen branches and large rocks. It's easy enough to find something to throw.
Yeah, so basically it's just a bunch of things to throw at once so they clatter and make a lot of noise.
Okay, yeah, you grab a handful of branches and pine cones and small rocks. It's not hard to find, honestly. You gather all that up and you have your arms full of this shit.
I think if there's enough noise that echoes through the caverns, he should come out. Are you ready?
Tame looks at you and twists the great axe in her hands and says, Oh, yeah.
I'll just chuck everything in and prepare.
All right. As you throw it all in, Tame hugs herself up against the side just outside the cavern. Grizz ducks back behind a fallen log. And what do? Are you hiding out in the open?
I'm going to try to get above the cavern entrance so when it comes out I can jump on it.
Roll athletics.
Not acrobatics. All right.
No.
12.
Okay, yeah, simple enough. You climb up on top of the cavern. It's basically a small grassy knoll, really, that you're looking down over the opening to this cavern in. And as you throw all of this debris, just and you suddenly hear just woof, woof, this horrible, just it twists the hair on the back of your neck if you had them. Mm-hmm. And you just this very territorial squawking crow comes from within the cavern, and then there's a as the owlbear is moving quickly. Now, roll me stealth.
And do.
You are attempting to get a surprise round.
Well, probably not with an 11.
We'll see. I'll roll for Tame. Okay, she rolled a 13. And I will roll for Grizz. Turns out kobolds are pretty good at this. Who knew? Yeah, Grizz rolled a 17.
All right, thank you, Chris.
I will roll a perception for the owlbear.
7.
The number to beat is an 11. You declared a 7. It rolled a 6.
Oh, it's close.
So, Grizz is here, Tame is here, and you are above it as the owlbear emerges.
A big bitch, goddamn.
That's how big an owlbear is. So, at this moment, I'm going to ask that you roll initiative for me.
Yeah. God damn it. What a thing to waste a nat 20 on.
Well, even in the surprise round, you do go first.
Well, who would have guessed? Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to, right off the bat, I'm just going to look down on it and just breathe my breath weapon. So just this cone of cold, just icy wind just like seeps out of my mouth down on top of it.
Okay. You have surprised it. I'm going to give it disadvantage on this con save.
Okay. 6 cold damage.
I rolled a 10.
He fails. DC's 13.
Okay, 6 cold damage.
And that was it. That was poorly rolled.
That happens. It's Tame's turn. Tame, she runs out, great axe overhead, and as she's running, she will swing the great axe while in rage at the same time. She has surprise, so it's an advantage. No shit. Tame rolled a natural 20.
Hell yeah, Tame. Cut his fucking head off.
Okay. With the great axe comes cleaving. No shit. Bro.
Holy fucking Christ, bro.
She rolled maximum damage on a crunchy crit. So,
Oh, fucking hell.
the great axe comes slamming down, and as this owlbear is reeling from the cold, this great axe just you hear the blade of the great axe bite and break bone in the shoulder and upper spine of this owlbear, which immediately as it's recoiling in pain. And as Tame shoves a boot up on the owlbear to wrench the great axe free, she says, "That's what I'm talking about!" And it's Grizz's turn, who will then shoot an arrow. Okay, hold on.
Christ.
You guys are... It's an owlbear. Like, these guys are not supposed to be pushovers. Okay, it's advantage. Grizz hits with an 18. Dealing... Okay, 3 points of damage. So a tiny arrow just... into the side of the owlbear.
Probably doesn't even feel it with the axe being ripped out of him.
No. The owlbear is immediately in dire straits all of a sudden. Hold on. Yeah, it started the battle fine and then was immediately bloodied. Okay. It's your turn. Surprise round's over. What do you do?
I jump down onto its back, and I'm just gonna punch it in the face.
Roll acrobatics for me. If you roll well, you'll get bonus damage.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not well. It's 11.
You don't biff. You do what you're intending to do.
Right. Yeah, just punch it right in his face.
Go ahead and roll your attacks.
Nope. 10 misses. I am on top of it.
A 10 does miss, but you have another attack.
What?
You're a monk.
Oh,
When you-
yeah, I can make another one. Bonus attack. I thought that was level 2. My bad.
It's all good.
New monk, who dis?
I got you.
23.
That certainly hits.
6 damage.
6 points of damage. Okay. The owlbear reacting in pain as it's reeling from the great axe blow and the arrow just right into the side of its neck. As you're falling down, your first strike, the falling elbow, just hits this weird mix of feather and fur and slides off. But as you pull an open hand strike on the right hand side, you feel your palm slam into that arrow and just push it all the way in.
Oof. All right, then.
Anything else on your turn?
That is it.
All right, it's Tame's turn. She will raise the great axe high and then bring it around for a left-handed swing, trying to go around you.
Okay. Another nat 20?
We will see. It is no longer at advantage. It is a 25 to hit. She rolled a natural 18. Barbarian. Okay, so that's 17 points of slashing damage as the owlbear is suddenly slammed with a great axe again. Just the blade of the axe biting deep. It is looking like shit. It's now the owlbear's turn. It has a multi-attack to use. It is going to react extremely negatively. It's going to try and make some attacks on you and on Tame. It's going to use a beak attack on Tame.
Yep.
Which of the two is more frightening. And Tame is hit with a 21. Tame takes 11 points of piercing damage.
She's raging, right?
She is raging, so it is halved. Still hurts, though.
Sure does.
You guys don't have very big health pools. Then the claw attack is coming for you. That's a 16 to hit.
Misses.
Okay. It has one more claw attack. It's going for you once more with it, and that's a 21 to hit.
That does it.
Okay. You take 10 points of slashing damage.
Oh,
So there goes your
my
temp.
temp.
Yeah. This owlbear, mortally wounded and confused and angry, raging that his territory has been encroached upon, Grizz hops up on top of the log and says, "This is for the clan!" and fires another arrow. And Grizz misses with an 11. Okay.
Oh, poor Chris.
And now it is your turn.
Just gonna give him 2 more punches to the face.
Okay.
Thank you. Does a 13 hit?
13 is its AC.
Well, 12 misses, so I get 1.
You get 1 hit.
For 5 damage.
5 points of damage. Luxunvur, how do you finish off this owlbear?
So I want to just take my palm and shove it into this giant gaping wound she left to hopefully finish off and sever the spinal cord.
Oh, yeah. You feel it. You feel the hardened, taut, calloused flesh of your hand, the hard connection of it on the bone. And just as quickly as the quick little the pop, the owlbear, raging and just falls over. Done. Tame is standing over it with the great axe, just. Yes! She looks at you, and you think she's going to attack you, but she headbutts the shit out of you.
Anything like the stories you've heard?
As she's coming down out of the rage and like victoriously getting the headbutt shakes out of her head, she looks at you with a huge smile and she says, "Oh, it was did you hear that roar?"
I did. Good job.
That was a well thought out plan.
Well, thank you.
And
I didn't-
she pulls like a dagger from her belt and she scratches a notch on the edge of her great axe before sliding it into the sling on her back.
Oh, now I know what that was for. God damn it. Alright. We better check inside. Make sure there's no dangers in there.
Yeah, good idea.
And she says as she is yanking a handful of owl bear feathers off of the head of the fell creature. It had 1 hit point when you punched it. So let me get this off the map.
We'll head in and check out the cave.
Roll investigation.
Nice.
Yep. You have advantage. Tame's helping you.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's
21.
a good roll.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so 21. This cave, there's lots of bones. The skeletons of creatures that were recently slain and consumed, probably by an owlbear. There's also, farther in, a number of skeletons that you recognize as kobold corpses. Beyond that, as you walk into the cave, you see that there are, and you smell them first, a huge amount of mushrooms growing within the cave. Aside from that, you don't see any sign of danger. You don't see any enemies. What you do see are the broken remains of what must have been a spring trap, which does not seem to function anymore.
I think that's enough. What do you think, Grizz?
Grizz is outside, and he looks into the cavern, and he says,
Yeah, you proved it.
Right, so the whole reason you started stealing food was because you lost the cave? Or
Grizz looks at you and just nods.
alright. Let's head back then.
Grizz leads the way back. And as you're walking, Tame is moving with a kind of kick in her step. She has one of the owlbear feathers that she's basically teasing back and forth between her hands, and she just keeps kind of quietly chuckling to herself, likely as she is reliving the adrenaline-filled moments that had just occurred.
I like you, Tame.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's a lot more to you than would be visible on the surface, and I like that.
Well, I could have told you that.
Yeah, but you have to... I don't want to say fight, but you have to spend time with someone before you know who they are, instead of who they say they are.
Of course you do.
And she looks at you and then over at Grizz, and she says,
Like maybe one day you'll tell me how you got so comfortable with kobolds.
One day indeed. You know, they share my blood.
she looks at you with a raised eyebrow, and she says,
Yeah, you're like a big dragon, or a big dragonborn's a big kobold, isn't it?
Something along those lines. They're basically my little brothers, little sisters.
Well, you're the first one I met that didn't try and step on him, I guess.
Yeah. I think everyone deserves a chance. Just because you're born one way doesn't mean that's how you are. Coming from parents I had, I know that all too well. If I wasn't given another chance, who knows where I'd be today?
Not here?
Definitely not here, and I'll pat her on the shoulder.
She glances down at her shoulder where you patted her, and she says,
I said I touch the things I like. I haven't made up my mind about you yet.
You didn't touch me, I touched you.
Do you want to nitpick over the difference?
she says, and she's like spinning the great axe in one hand.
So what? If I like you, I can't touch you? Is that what we're going here?
She looks at him, she looks at you, and she says, "You like me?
Well, yeah,
You don't even know me.
know enough. Enough to maybe know more.
We'll see. First, let's finish this job.
Right.
And as you are talking, Grizz looks over his shoulder at you, at the two of you, and he says,
We're almost there. Try not to kill each other.
I'll kind of look to Tame and look back to him. Did it give off that kind of energy?
the kobold like shrugs and says,
You big people, I don't understand it. The signals are mixed.
That's fair. That's fair. And I'm just follow him back in silence unless she has anything else to say.
"Okay, well, hold on. Let me roll a demeanor check."
Tell you what,
She says, as you have been walking for another 15 minutes. It's likely she's been thinking about it for a little bit. She says,
you get me a drink at the Merry Guard. I'll tell you about what I used to be.
That sounds like a fair deal to me. And I go to put my hand out to shake her hand, and then I think about it for a second and pull it back.
You do learn.
Sometimes not as quick as I would like.
Yeah, I can see that.
Alright.
It is at that moment that you finally arrive at the cavern. And Grizz hurriedly runs in, holding up a finger for you to wait at the entrance. And as he runs in, it takes only but a moment before the old, wizened kobold with wings emerges, and she says,
Grizz, tell me you were successful.
Indeed.
I worried you might have fallen to the monster.
No, we were able to take it by surprise, and it fell quickly.
Good. Ambush is the way of the wise warrior. As you have restored our means of feeding ourselves, we will no longer steal from the farms of Ferrum. You have my word.
And one more thing. If you ever need help again, or anything you need, try to leave a message at one of the farms asking for Levi from the Merry Guard. I will try to help when I can.
We will make a note of it. Thank you, Dragonborn.
Indeed.
And then she turns and says, "And thank you, half-orc." And she says it in common. And Tame says, "Hush! You're welcome." And she looks at you. And she says, "I didn't know they spoke common."
Some of them do. It's hard to tell sometimes.
The last thing that happens is before you go, the kobold leader steps up to you, and she holds out in her hands something for you to take.
I reach down and take it.
"Our clan crafters provide this."
And it is a dragon's tooth on a necklace.
Oh. I take it. This is beautiful, thank you.
You are welcome. You have saved us from much trouble. We do not like being chased by town guards.
I'm sure no one likes being chased by anything. But I have one more question for you. You said you consider us friends now, yes?
We consider you
At least
allies.
trustworthy. What was that coughing I heard earlier?
Roll me a persuasion.
But, please, Jesus. 6.
The leader looks at you and says,
My mate is ill, but it is our problem. We will handle it as we handle all things in the clan.
I'm gonna roll a wisdom save here.
okay.
If I roll higher than a 12, he'll leave it be. If it's lower than a 12, I'm gonna push the matter. Oh, well, okay. I'm gonna try to help this mate. You know, there are plenty of things I can do to help. What is wrong with your mate?
You see that the leader scowls at you and she says,
I said this is a clan matter. You will leave it be.
So be it. And he'll just give a nod and turn around and head out.
okay. As you're leaving, Tame follows you. And you have this dragon tooth necklace. Do you try and wear it? Do you just put it in your pocket?
Oh yeah, I definitely put it on.
Okay. As you're making your way back, if you recall, it's like an hour walk. And at this point, you've been walking through the woods quite a bit. It is about dusk when you finally emerge from the woods at the edge of the farms. And that dragon tooth is just a dragon's tooth. It's still worth a good amount of gold, but it has no magical effects. But you can add to your inventory one dragon fang necklace.
Oh yeah.
You're also
That's
not
something to be
certain.
wearing.
You're not certain what type of dragon it is, but you're pretty sure it's a metallic.
Okay. Okay.
Now, as you have emerged from the forest, we go back to the city map. One moment here. Okay. You emerge on the edge of the forest just outside the Parkson's farm, where you see the two guards have been relieved, and instead there are two different guards who stand watch. It is a similar formation, one of them having a long bow, the other a long sword. But they look older, and one of them is seated on a small stool.
I just kind of ignore them, and I go back to the farmstead.
Okay. As it's later in the day, it's near dusk. The farmers and their hands are not out on the fields, but the lights are on. And as you're approaching, the old man emerges with a clatter of the storm door just shutting behind him. And he says, "Good evening. I was worried you might have gotten lost in the forest."
No, we just had to take a detour. You'll be happy to know that your issues should be solved. You won't have your feed stolen again.
Oh, why? Are you sure about that?
Very sure.
Well, that's fantastic. Oh, thank you.
Indeed.
And you'll have our commendations to the Marigard.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It is our duty after all.
What was your names again?
I'm Levi, and this is Tame.
Right. I'll be sure to send word right away. Thank you again.
And you have a very good evening.
And you as well.
And on that note, we'll head back to the merry-go.
Okay. As you're making your way back toward the Marigard, Tame, you feel the haft of her great axe just tap you on the shoulder, and she says, "A drink."
Yeah, we can go now. I was thinking after, but that works.
She tilts her head and says,
Then let's go.
Alright. I guess we go to the Merry-Guard.
"Okay." Instead of the Marigard, you go to the Merry-Guard. Okay. You head to the tavern, and it is as you remember. It is the busy, happy sounds, as always, of the busiest tavern in Ferrum. And I need to find the splash art for it. You'd think I would have it ready to rock and roll with how often we end up here.
Right, and the fact it was your idea to come for a drink.
Not mine.
Well, I mean, fair, but...
Yeah, you don't get to blame me for this. Okay, so you and Tame arrive at the Merry Guard, once again greeted by the gold dragonborn at the door. She nods to you as you enter, and there is a brief pause as Tame enters the room behind you, as many of the individuals who are right by the door glance up at the towering woman who her great axe is... maybe it's a relief. It is in its sling on her back.
Definitely a relief.
But she smirks as she looks around and she says,
What? None of you seen a half-orc before?
and just like a wave of everyone goes back to what it was that they were doing. And she just,
That's what I
I
thought.
look up to her. Don't feel bad. They did the same thing to me the first time I came here.
What the fuck? Everyone's got goosenecks around here.
Tell me about it. I thought some of them had broken their neck the way they looked.
Let's go find a seat.
and
Right.
you guys get a table. As you sit down, a man wearing a black mask, but just over the eyes, steps up and says,
Hey, welcome to the Merry Guard. What can I get you?
"Drink, food, drink and food."
I think I'll just take a drink for now.
Aye, and you?
And Tame looks at him and says, "Steak and ale." And he says, steak and ale. Ale and steak, all right." And he leaves to go get your orders. And Tame looks at you and she says, "Right. Well, the ale's on you, if you remember."
Oh, of course. I remember the deal. I buy, you spill. Possibly.
Good.
She basically is quiet and looking around the tavern until the drink arrives, in which case she immediately begins to drink.
So, I guess your first time here?
Yeah. Been focusing on my training.
That makes sense. Might be wise if I do the same. I've been here more than you and been here far less than you.
You mean here? Drinking?
Yeah, I've been in this bar more than you, but I've been at the Merigard far less than you.
Take your rec where you can get it. It's hard to find leave at this place.
Is it now?
Sure can be. At least when your instructor's like Makito. I swear he's trying to make us pissed off, just so we can rage whenever we want to.
Can you spell Makito for me?
Makito.
Alright, sorry.
No worries.
Well, isn't that the whole point of what you do?
Yeah, I guess. You just get tired. Weeks
only-
of training is just tiring.
You don't have any days off?
I gotta be the best.
Still. You can only go for so long without a break.
I'll rest when I'm dead.
If you push too hard, it'll come sooner than you want.
Then I'll get my rest.
That's a good way to look at it, I suppose.
She nods and takes a large slug from the ale that's brought her, drinking almost all of it in one go. And she says, "All right. Have you heard of the Scaleback?"
Have I heard of the Scaleback?
Roll a history check.
17.
Yeah. The Scaleback it's in Terracona. And you might have heard of it in passing or from traders or something like that, probably complaining about raiders. The Scaleback foothills are a notable location in Terracona, as they are basically the main road that leads through Terracona goes through them, and they are famous for highwaymen, bandits, and raiders. The lowest of lives can be found there, which is unique because Terracona is the seat of the ancient gold dragon Raylar, the Everlasting, and the fact that there are raiders and highwaymen holding people up right under his nose is a sense of irony the entire world appreciates. She says, "That's where I used to call home."
That makes sense now.
Me and my, I was part of Coralland's crew, the White Irons. And I just got tired of it. Fighting without meaning, I guess.
And that's what brought you down this way?
No, what brought me down this way was a patrol of paladins, knights, whatever. They held us up and really just smashed the White Irons to pieces, and they asked me if I was going to keep fighting or if I wanted mercy. And I'm ashamed to say I begged for them to not kill me, and they sent me here.
Not ashamed. It's not shameful wanting to live.
I think about that night as if I was the weakest maggot they'd ever seen.
Well, judging yourself, that makes sense. But from the outside looking in, you were given a second chance because they saw a promise in you.
I think they felt guilt.
I don't think that's the case at all. But
You might say that, but they were watching my face as they drove the longsword into my father's neck. I think there was guilt. I don't believe they had a lick of mercy in them. I think they just wanted to go to sleep that night. Doesn't matter. And she takes another drink. And as that ale cup is empty, she waves for the individual to bring her another.
I'd say make it two. Two more for her.
The waiter nods. Two's coming right up. And he leaves.
Mighty hard.
That's my sob story. Everybody's got one.
Well, hearing your sob story makes me feel like my story has far less merit in the sob department.
Grew up sheltered. Northern Frost, stopped by Quarterstone, learned to be a monk, came here. There's a lot of gaps in there, Levi.
Yes, there's a couple. You're not wrong. You could say I'm kind of like you. My parents were raiders. Anybody who came near the village, traders, the unfortunate soul, they would murder them or take what they wanted, as you said. But that's not a life I wanted.
That's where you're different. Because I wanted it. I felt strong when people would be afraid of me. I felt good. I regret it now, but I'll never forget the adrenaline.
So tell me, what do you think it would feel like for someone to look at you and admire you because of how strong you are? They know that they're safe when you're here.
Safe.
Yeah. Someone pays you to do a job and protect them. And when you get the results done, and they speak of your name, in the next town you go into, or the next job you accept, you know, your name is spread, your feats, your strength, and everybody is just awestruck and they admire you. How do you think that would feel?
I think that would feel good. I think that would feel like respect I've earned.
I think that is a much better life that awaits you.
You know what? Fuck you, Levi. I do like you. And she punches you in the shoulder.
I'll just take it. Well, that's good. 'Cause that drink would have been for nothing if not.
I see you're a gambling man, then.
Sometimes. Sometimes. It depends on if I feel like the odds are in my favor or not.
I guess this time it paid off. And she takes a drink. A long one.
Right. Oh. Been a long fucking day.
That it has. And I've got training tomorrow.
Oh. So do I. Oh.
I should probably call it after this, then.
I think so too.
Well, if ever you're called out on a job and you need more muscle behind you, you can tell Persh my name again.
You'll be the first one I call.
She smirks. And as you finish up that night, finishing off your drinks and paying, which is going to be a total of about $1, by the way,
Right.
that's where we will call tonight's session.
Alright, sounds good to me. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you for playing with me, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.